Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Sadaqallahul azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we complete the review sessions, inshallah, with the story of the creation of mankind, the story of Adam Alaihissalam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم فلما أنبأهم بأسمائهم قال ألم أقل لكم إني أعلم غيب السماوات والأرض وأعلم ما تبدون وما كنتم تكتمون وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فاسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين وقلنا يا آدم اسكن أنت وزوجك الجنة وكلا منها رغدا حيث شئتما ولا تقربا هذه الشجرة فتكونا من الظالمين فأزلهم الشيطان عنها فأخرجهما مما كان فيه وقلنا اهبطوا بعضكم لبعض عدو ولكم في الأرض مستقر ومتاع إلى حين فتلقى آدم من ربه كلمات فتاب عليه إنه هو التواب الرحيم قلنا اهبطوا منها جميعا فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن تبع هدايا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون صدق الله العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and mention, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I will make upon the earth a successive authority. They said, will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood, while we declare your praise and sanctify you? Allah said, indeed, I know that which you do not know. And he taught Adam alayhi salam the names, all of them. Then he showed them to the angels and said, inform me of the names of these, if you are truthful. They said, exalted are you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, it is you who is the knowing, the wise. So this, the first story in the Quran, and the logical story, the beginning of mankind, is mentioned at this point. And we've gone through the details of it. So I'm just going to look at and reflect upon things and maybe take out some lessons that we haven't previously. We understand here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating mankind after the angels and after the jinn. And we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also presenting mankind as something of a greater value than the angels and the jinn, because immediately upon their creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that I'm going to create something upon the earth that's going to be a khalifa. In the Arabic, the Quran calls the mankind, the first man, as a khalifa, and then of course we continue in that sense because the translation is saying successive authority. This is often looked at in terms of generations, that mankind will succeed one another through generations, which we do. But it also holds that there will be successive authority, that there will be rulers, and those rulers will die, and other rulers will take place, and they will die, and the others will take their place, and this will continue. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing the angels that there's going to be an organized being on earth, a being who's going to be in a leadership role, and he's going to have authority, and that authority is bestowed upon him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in a sense, it tells us that we as human beings, we're all responsible beings. Here on Allah's dunya, Allah ta'ala created this planet, created the entirety of what is on this planet, and we are now put on this planet to manage it. We do not create it, we do not run it. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's done that, and the planet was running as it was. Mankind was put here to maintain it, and to interact with it, and to benefit from it, and to benefit it from himself. But the angels, they looked upon mankind, having already known the disaster that the jinn had caused on earth, and they were concerned that the mankind would do the same thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them that, he gives them that peace of mind. He says, I know what you know not. And in that, there is multitude of wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have simply said, no, they won't do that. Or some of them will, but some of them won't. Or those that do will be taken over by those who don't, those who listen to me, and they will be arrested, they'll be put in prisons, jails, etc., i.e. there will be justice, there will be punishment, etc. He could have said any number of things about the behavior of mankind, all of which would be correct, but none of that did he say. Instead, he says this very profound statement, indeed, I know that which you do not know. And this was said for our benefit. It is a favor to mankind, to each and every one of us individually, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about us that which no one else knows, that each and every single one of us has that ability, has that potential to be far better than a low person, than someone who is disobedient, that each one of us has the potential to be devoutly obedient to Allah Ta'ala and draw near to him and close the gap, the distance between us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates that distance because he sends man from Jannah, from his closeness, to the dunya, which is far distant. But he gives us the potential to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a means that does not need to be physical. Physically, we could never do it. We can never travel from the earth out beyond the universe into the heavens. That's not going to happen. But we can travel there through spirituality. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is implying here. I know that which you do not know, that despite them being so far, so removed, having the precursor being the jinn who caused so much fasad in the dunya, despite all of this, despite on top of that putting the jinn back on earth, this being has the potential, mankind, we have the potential to reach back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to get nearness to him, and to remember what he's done for us, and to appreciate it. So the whole of the earth is put around us as a reminder. Everything around us is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the balance and harmony that we learn about in science and so on, about the water cycle, about the plants, the animals, the insects, the soil creatures, etc. All of that is a balance put in place to remind us all that this is what we can have and this is what we should be. And if mankind on a whole, on a nation level, is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, still the individual can stand apart. Still the individual can reach his Lord. And so there have been many instances amongst the history of mankind where individuals have changed, individuals have become different, individuals have become better. Even the example of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's own nizam, his own sunnah of sending prophets, that was another example of an individual becoming different, an individual leading others, an individual inspiring and motivating others. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this to the angels for us also, that he knows what others do not know. So even in the case of an individual in the most harrowing of circumstances, and we have people, even whether it's in society, whether it's in a nation, whether it's in a race or a creed, we have people who are in trouble. We have people who are hurt, who are down, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that within that they still have the potential to reach him. In fact, it's through pain and hardship and hurt that we can find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because at that time, when everything is down around us and we don't have all the things that we're proud of, that we're arrogant over, our money, our wealth, our positions, our power, our prestige, our looks, our intelligence, we don't have any of those things. When all of that breaks down and is unable to tackle the problems that we are in, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grows and develops our spirit. Because it's that spirit that then says, no, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something to get myself out of this situation. And then that spirit reaches out for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instinctively. The body may not, because the body is used to dunya, but the spirit, the ruh, reaches out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it seeks nearness back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a greater tawheed than we would do consciously in our minds. So at that time, the human being reaches out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is also part of Allah knowing what others do not know, that in each individual in their own circumstances, whether those are difficult or whether those are easy, will reach out to him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this open opportunity to all of mankind, each and every single one of us. Then comes the next issue where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches Adam al-Islam the names of all creation, the nature of all creation. And as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing again to the angels that as a result of their intellect, their minds, they will be able to appreciate Allah's greatness. And through their minds and learning, the learning of the deen, the learning of the creation around them, they will be able to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in that instance, we are looking at now the learning of the deen, the learning of the dunya, but in the sense of the natural world, not what we find in colleges, schools, and universities, not those. Those are things set by man for man, and they can be indoctrinating, they can be false, they can be falsified, they can be illogical, they can be corrupt, it can be also shirk and kufr, which we find in a lot of things in schools and colleges and universities. Many things that we are taught in the hands of the disbeliever, knowledge becomes very distasteful to the soul. For what the soul knows. The soul has knowledge, but that knowledge is pure knowledge and natural, the knowledge of the natural world, and the knowledge of natural nizam, the natural order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in creation. But the knowledge of man can be of arrogance and conceit. It can be politically one way or politically another, and so on. It can be deceitful. It can be biased. So we are talking about the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about creation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given all insan that, and many times people come to the deen of Islam or become better practicing the deen of Islam simply by reflecting and watching nature and interacting with it, in fact. And that just brings a kind of a humbleness and a humility in people, even if they don't take the Shahada, even if they don't become Muslim, or if they don't become better Muslims, still working with the earth, working with the nizam in the dunya makes people become more humble. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us through teaching Adam al-Islam the names of all things, the nature of all things, because through knowing the nature of all things, we will eventually arrive at Tawheed. We will eventually arrive in closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by watching what he has done, by learning what he has done. But again, as I stressed before, I stress again, it must be the natural world and it must be the natural order of things that we look at, that we study, that we ponder and reflect over, and therefore we will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when this was shown to them, when Adam al-Islam exhibits this, he shows to the angels the nature of all things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. They realize then, and now they are convinced, and so they say, exalted are you, we have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, it is you who are the knowing, the wise. So see here, the knowing, the wise, because knowledge leads to wisdom. So they attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they acknowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his two sifat, the two particular names, knowledge and wisdom, the all-knowing and the all-wise, because they realize what has taken place here now is from the one who is all-knowing, and what will take place in the future and what will be the outcome of this new creation is from the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So subhanAllah, what a grand opening to the creation of mankind. What a grand introduction for us to angels, creatures that we believe to be pure and great, and yet our greatness is being mentioned to them in a way that makes it more prior to their greatness. And that is done by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, he said, O Adam Alaihissalam, inform them of their names. And when he had informed them of their names, he said, did I not tell you that I know the unseen aspects of the heavens and the earth, and I know what you reveal and what you have concealed? And mention when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam Alaihissalam. So they prostrated except for Iblis. He refused and was arrogant and became of the disbelievers. And we said, O Adam Alaihissalam, dwell you and your wife in paradise and eat therefrom in ease and abundance and from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers. So in the second segment of the story, we now find that Adam Alaihissalam proves himself. Prior to this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spoken on our behalf, but now Adam Alaihissalam himself proves himself by explaining to the angels, teaching the angels the nature of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah ta'ala concludes, did I not tell you that I know the unseen of the heavens and the earth? He also adds, and I know what you reveal and what you have concealed. And what they revealed was their concern, but what they concealed was that the angels wanted to be the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They wanted to be Allah's greatest creation. They wanted to be the most obedient, the most devout, the most loving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that they had shown. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was informing them that I understand what you are feeling. I understand what you are concealing. I understand what it is that you aspire to. And it takes nothing away from the angels. The angels still have that great standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, Allah is majestic. He can do what he wants and no one can question him. So he creates a new creation, mankind, and endows mankind with the ability to be at a higher status than the angels themselves, if he should do so. If he or she doesn't, then that is their own doing. Now comes the big moment where we introduce the evil or the villainous element in the story of mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands all the beings before him, bow down, prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. They all do, except one known as Iblis. He refused and was arrogant and became of the disbelievers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. And in that instance, what we find is that the destiny of Adam alayhi salam, and by extension, the destiny of mankind, has now begun. Now we have an enemy. Now we have a being who is powerful, who is also very aware of human beings' weaknesses. He knows us. He knows the design of mankind. He knows what is within mankind. He knows that we have a mind, a heart, a stomach, private parts. He knows that we can be subdued and we can be distracted with the pangs, with the instinctive needs of these organs. For the heart, he knows that we need to love. He knows that we can be passionate about it. He knows that we can be take it to an extreme. He understood that. The stomach, he could understand that we need to feed, we need food, we need to also, therefore, we can grow into greed. And that greed could be so much that we could be selfish towards one another. We could be distant from one another. We could be enemies to one another just to feed our stomachs, that we will empty somebody else's to feed our own. He understood this. And he understood we have private parts. He understood that we have a sexual instinct, that men and women have sexual instincts towards one another. And he knew that the instinct was strong, and knew, just as with hunger and just as with the heart, this could also go to an extreme where in that sense he could take the extreme desire, the extreme yearning, and cause mankind to become very disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the point that it could become unnatural. So he knew these things. And as a result of that, he felt confident that he could take mankind away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, using these very things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in mankind for good and change them into evil. So he was arrogant because of that, as one of the things that was in his mind at that time, that I can do this. So he made that promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I will take them away from you. And in another instance in the Quran, inshallah, when we get to that point, we'll discuss this in more detail. But he knew this about mankind. And so he put this promise before Allah ta'ala, that if you give me the opportunity, I'll take them away from you. I'll make them ungrateful to you. They will change the nature of what you have created. They will disobey you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that chance. And so in this dunya, the enemy, Iblis, now as Shaitan, is there doing all of those things that he promised he would. And not just to the odd few people, but to the multitudes on earth. And hence we have, as mankind, subhanAllah, a history of murder, rape, killing, wars. We have a history of prostitution, pornography, destruction of the sexes, destruction of marriage, distortion and mutation of the very act of sexuality. The sexual act was actually something that's a part of marriage and is a part of the beauty of marriage. And it is something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted to mankind. It's actually a gift that helps us to understand the pleasures that will be in Jannah. He has given us a portion in the sexual needs of one another, in the sexual satisfaction through husband and wife. And when husband and wife are together, that is a blessing. But Shaitan, knowing what he could do, took that to an extreme and made many crimes occur as a result of the extremes of sexual desire. The same with the stomach and the same with the heart. He caused people to become greedy, and people became greedy to the extent that we have now a world which is almost literally divided into two. We have extremely well-fed people to the point that they are overweight, and they have to exercise to take that weight off, but it's because of the excess food. And on the other hand, we have people starving to the extent that they look like skeletons, that they are emaciated and they are barely alive. And they have to dig and claw into the ground to find bits of food, roots, or grains of rice that they can eat. That is all the food they can have. And this is the sort of thing that has occurred on the earth as a result of the extremities, the extremeness of the stomach, of food and the greed for it. Then we have the heart, and how he has taken that heart and taken that understanding of love and completely mutated it into something that is modern today, is seen as something that is practically shirk. That people now understand love and romance to the extent that a man or a woman can love each other to the extent that they forget everybody else, they forget Allah. And this is wrong and incorrect. But this is an invention of the West and the kuffar world, and something that's been imbued in mankind through Shaitan, that we lose the love for Allah and we give what is due to Allah to one another. And that is unacceptable. And that is so incorrect and so obvious that it's from Shaitan, because whatever is from Shaitan has no substance, it breaks down. So what happens is people promise each other, people say, swear to each other with sweet nothings, that we'll be together forever, we'll love you forever, I love you more than anything else, I will give my life for you, etc., etc. But after a while of that relationship, it breaks down and they separate and they go off and find other people, and the promises are made to those other people, and then that breaks down, and then the people move on to other people, and the same promises made to other people. And so people have a string of ex-boyfriends, a string of ex-girlfriends. Marriage is not even thought of, simply just dating one another. That's how the world of the kuffar is, to the extent now that has now been taken to the next extreme, that now we have that men will go for men and women will go for women. Or people will pleasure themselves through masturbation. And this is the extent that the Shaitan has taken this love, that people have become to love one another to excess, and then love their own gender to excess, and then love themselves to that extent. And what has happened is somewhere along that path, the whole idea of what love is in Islam, what Allah created it to be, this beautiful feeling, this beautiful, satisfying aspect of the heart, is completely lost. And we have to now retread and find out what it was in order to then exhibit that. Because of course, husband and wife should love each other, of course. But the thing is, how that should be done and in what sense it should be done and on what understanding it should be done has been lost. So again, Iblis, he knew how to get us through all these parts of our bodies, our private parts, our stomachs, our hearts. There's so much that can be said about all of this, but I just want to just sort of, give a basic understanding so that we can have some background and in review of the story of Adam al-Islam. Then we have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we said, O Adam, dwell you and your wife in paradise, eat therefrom in ease and abundance from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers. Now we have the third character in the story, which is the creation of woman. And as I've mentioned before, the creation of woman was because of the yearning of Adam al-Islam. And the yearning of Adam al-Islam from his heart was such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understood and created Hawa radiallahu anha, the first woman. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents this picture, this understanding that in human society, human beings are not to dwell by themselves, but they are paired, or they have love interest, in the sense that every human being is a social being, and he must and she must from their hearts exhibit that love and feel the satisfaction, because otherwise the entire organ of the heart goes to waste. It becomes dried, it becomes dead, and that is not correct. A life in this dunya has to be one where the heart must be wholesome, and it is wholesome when it is expressing love and affection and receiving love and affection. When hearts are interacting, then the human being he and she are sound. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this nizam. So there, Adam al-Islam and this created woman now, Hawa radiallahu anha, are a perfect match. And that perfect match, they live in Jannah and they're happy with each other, and they have that sakina with one another, because she is upon complete natural fitra. He is upon complete natural fitra. And that natural fitra of a man is so attractive to a woman. And the natural fitra of a woman is so attractive to a man. However, Shaitan again has taken that aspect as well. Because when he went into the Jannah to trick Adam al-Islam, he saw their interaction, he saw their needs, knowing about their bodily organs, etc., knowing about their hearts and their sexual organs. He now puts together the relationship that also occurs between a man and woman, husband and wife in Jannah. He sees that, and he sees the opportunity to corrupt that as well. So in this world now, we have women who have lost touch with their femininity. They are not the natural woman anymore. Many women are in this state. Few are still upon their natural fitrah, but it's so difficult because there is so much off the fitrah that those who want to remain upon fitrah find it difficult. The same with men. Many men have lost their natural fitrah, the state of a rajula, which is manhood in Islam, on the earth. In order to fulfill the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a man has to be upon manhood, upon the nature of a man, that he may make decisions, that he may care, that he may manage, that he may authorize, that he may become a leader over all these things, and a leader to his wife as well. So this, in many instances, is lost. But again, going back to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, a khalifa. So a khalifa has to lead. And so the nature of the man is he must lead his wife. And the nature of the woman is that she will follow, just as in any instance where there is a leader and there are followers. The followers know it is their duty to follow the leader, and the leader knows it is his duty to lead the followers. This is a normal, understood aspect of human authority or managerial life. Same occurs in marriage. And once those natures are known, and the woman understands the nature and fulfills it, and the man understands his nature and fulfills it, then the two will live in harmony, and there will be no dispute, and they will see themselves through that marriage, inshallah. But Satan caused them to slip out of it and remove them from that condition in which they had been. And we said, go down, all of you, as enemies to one another, and you will have upon the earth a place of settlement and provision for a time. Then Adam Alaihissalam received from his Lord some words, and he accepted his repentance. Indeed, it is he who is the accepting of repentance, the merciful. We said, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go down from it, all of you. And when guidance comes to you from me, whoever follows my guidance, there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. And those who disbelieve and deny our signs, those will be the companions of the fire. They will abide therein eternally. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the story to its concluding part. That Shaitan tricked Adam al-Islam. And that's another thing we learn from this, that good people, righteous people, all the way up to prophets, though they are righteous and they are good and they are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can be lied to, they can be deceived, they can be tricked. And that's the only way to get them to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not a genuine thing. It is not a natural thing. It is not a deliberate thing on their part at all. Good people, righteous people can be lied to and deceived, which is what we find in the world today. We find that the world is full of deception. The world is full of deception in all kinds of matters, from whether it's the pandemic, to whether it's the society, to whether it's what's being taught in schools, to whether it's what the philosophies of society are, to all sorts of things. Even the differences nations have with one another, based upon jealousy and pride, all things are in this dunya from that condition, that state, that shaitan can trick and deceive. So people are deceiving one another, nations deceive one another, organizations deceive one another, individuals deceive one another. So it is difficult to live in this world that is so full of the shaitani and the dajjalic elements now that it's like it's never been before. But what we understand from this at the same time is that righteous people, first and foremost, remain righteous. They do not then give as good as they get. They don't do that. They do not respond evil with evil. They do not become corrupt themselves in order to deal with the corruption. That is not what they do. The first thing they do is maintain their righteousness. They maintain their piety. If anything, they become more pious. They become more holding on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one. Number two, if they are tricked and deceived in some manner and they are sent down the wrong path, they take a wrong step, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala steps in, as he did with Adam Alaihissalam, and forgave him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala steps in and will, one, forgive that believing man or woman, and secondly, will put them right. In fact, the very fact that they realize they've taken the wrong step is Allah's guidance, making them realize that what they've done is wrong. And so they turn around and make that tawbah. Another thing we learn from this is that in this story, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Adam al-Islam not to go near this tree, and shaitan tricks him and deceives him, we have a difference. We have two different beings who have apparently disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, shaitan. Number two, Adam al-Islam. Both of them in this story disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, look at the difference in the behavior of the two. Shaitan, he becomes arrogant. He refuses obstinately. Adam al-Islam, he doesn't do anything out of turn except that he's tricked into doing it. The second thing, shaitan, having been caught out, then asks, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him a chance, what does he do? He doesn't give any word of tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, instead he says, I will do this and this and this, and watch, you will find most of them will be ungrateful. Whereas Adam al-Islam, when he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accepts what he's done wrong, he makes no conditions. He makes no conditions. Instead, he's remorseful. He's grieving, he's remorseful, he makes tawbah. And that's the difference between the two. So in this dunya, believers must hold on to the rope of Allah Ta'ala, make tawbah, make istighfar. Yes, we will do things wrong. Yes, things will go wrong. Yes, people can be lied to, deceived. Yes, you may even go and take a few steps in doing what's wrong. However, you put it right. You put it right. As soon as you realize it, you make tawbah to Allah Ta'ala and you put it right. And you hold on to your belief. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you through, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we said, go down from it, all of you. And when guidance comes to you from me, whoever follows my guidance, there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. And those who disbelieve and deny our signs, those will be the companions of the fire, they will abide therein eternally. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the two conditions. Either we make tawbah and we turn back to Allah Ta'ala, in which case Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shower his guidance upon us. Or we disbelieve, we deny, we change, we lose our footing, and we become of the kafir, and therefore there will be azab and punishment. Finally, I want to reflect upon this with the idea of guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Am I responding to the daily and constant guidance from Allah Ta'ala? What I mean by that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hidayah, his guidance is upon us all the time. It's all around us. It's happening all the time. People are guided from many different things. And it's not that Allah Ta'ala guides a person at one point in time. or in his life or her life, and that's it. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance is all around us all the time. If we reflect back on this story, what I said at the beginning about the earth, the entire planet being the creation of Allah Ta'ala, in it there being systems designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in it being nizams, routines of creation, natures of creation, and events in creation all around us, then this is the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happening all the time. So in effect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance, hidayah, is there all the time for everyone, day and night, in everything we look around, depending on how sharp our vision is, how spiritually attuned we are, we will find meaning in everything if we are attuned. And the more attuned you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more meaning you will find in things, the more you will spend time in silence. Because with having silence, when you are silent, then what happens in a conversation? When one person is silent, the other person can talk. And when that happens, then what happens? The person who's silent is the one who's receiving the wisdom of the other. So in the same sense, the people of piety and righteousness, they spend a lot of time in silence, in contemplating, in reflecting, in observing, in listening to the hidayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that comes through during and whenever events occur in their lives. It may be something you hear, it may be something you see, it may even be in areas and from ways that you wouldn't expect. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can reach, especially to non-Muslims, in their non-Islamic lifestyle. They may be watching movies, they may be listening to songs, they may be in evil environments, they may be in disrespectful or shameless environments, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reaches them. Within those environments, there will be something that will happen, maybe some scene in a film, maybe some lyric in a song, maybe some piece of music even that makes them feel in a particular way. All of this is the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because all of it belongs to Allah ta'ala. Though it may be wrong, though it may be evil, it is wrong and evil for us. But Allah, the creator of all things, just as he's created the pig, the swine, he declares it to be haram for us. We cannot eat it, we cannot use it, we cannot benefit from it in any way at all. It is completely forbidden. Yet he has created it, and he feeds it, and he looks after it, and he will do justice to it if anybody does injustice to a pig. So this is what I mean, that in that same sense, all things are Allah's creation, and through it he can do what he wants and give people guidance because of where they are. Of course, when they come out of that, then they will get guidance through more halal means, and then through more righteous means, and then the height of guidance will be through the Quran. When they approach that and are able to recite it, are able to read it, then that will be the height of guidance for them. So we have to look at how responsive are we. Am I responding to the daily and constant guidance from Allah Ta'ala? Because often people want to develop and become better, and they think that it will be done because they read a particular book or whatever. No, not necessarily. Allah's guidance is all around us. So if you're in a situation where you cannot access a sheikh, a scholar, etc., if you're not married to someone who is righteous, if your partner is not righteous, if you are in an environment which is not righteous, if you're surrounded by people and friends who are not righteous, then what you have to do is listen to the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the different ways that it will reach you, because it will still reach you. And from that you grow until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes your circumstances, and you can then benefit from more halal and more righteous and pious people and more halal environments and more halal events. But the point is to respond, to be silent, to listen, to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending his guidance. And that seems to be one of the core elements of the story of Adam and some of the story of creation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the angels. I know what you know not, that I will send them guidance, and amongst them there will be those who will listen to that guidance. And when they listen to that guidance, they will far outstrip those who do not, and they will far outstrip to the point that their elevation, their status will be better than that of the angels. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand and reflect upon what has been said and done today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.